Do you ever ask why? This podcast questions received wisdom on every level and empowers you to make informed decisions. Join multi-award-winning businesswoman Jayne Nichols, responsible for changing the face of yoga and fitness in the UK, as she chats with the enlightened.
Well, I am super excited to reunite with Ansi Yo. Our history is, 30 years, is it, Ansi?
Probably. Close to it, yeah.
So when I met Ansi, we were both starting out as fitness presenters and we were working with fitness professionals and the AOGB UK. And my recollections of Ansi are that we laughed a lot. We had an awful lot in common, from boyfriends, cats,
yes,
how we were entering the industry. But my overriding recollection is that we giggled.
We did.
We really did. And then, of course, we took our own different pathways. So, yeah. Ansi, welcome to you.
Yeah. So I was just thinking, actually, I was talking about you the other day, and as I do. Do you remember the Presenters Boot Camp?
Yeah.
The AOGB one. Do you remember that one? I reckon that was the first time we really met, wasn't it?
Do you know, I can't place the first time. I just remember you in that office.
Which office? The AOGB office?
The AOGB office, yeah, because you were running the shop, weren't you?
Oh, so kind of looking after the education side of things.
Yeah, was that later on?
Was what later on?
Was this a lot later on from our initial meeting? But that's my overwhelming.
Yeah, no, I think it must have been that. It was at AOGB actually, pre FitPro.
Right.
Because then you started to do work with FitPro before I did, because I was working for AOGB.
So for those of you that don't know, fitness professionals were pretty much one of the biggest, our benchmark organisation, weren't they?
Yeah.
And the aerobics organisation of Great Britain, which is now the IFS convention run by Kerry and Steve, based at Blackpool, still doing education. They kind of bumbled along together in a dysfunctional family kind of way.
It's interesting working in the office. So yeah, I mean, the AOGB was, at the time, they did quite a lot of little courses, didn't they? And they were the providers for the AFA training.
Which I did.
Yeah. And then they did step qualifications and all kinds of other things beforehand. And then they decided to bring on this presenter boot camp thing for people who wanted to enter the industry. So yeah.
Which we carried on. We did that with FitPro, then we did it with Athletes in Action.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, that aside, just give me a rough journey, because our journeys really, when you think about it, out of everyone from that time, you and I are probably more similar in where we've kind of ended up at this here and now.
Yeah, so I went from the AOGB, and it got to a point when I thought, I needed to kind of make an exit for myself. I love what I did. And then I saw an ad for a job at the university in Luton, which is now University of Bedfordshire, for a lecturing position. And they wanted someone who had links with the fitness industry. And I thought, oh, that's me. And it was a part-time job, and I applied for it and got offered full-time. And so that's where I ended up. I left the AOGB, ended up lecturing and looking after an online, this is the early days, it was a distance learning course for personal trainers.
Wow.
That was degree level.
Yeah.
So I ended up looking after that, and I was teaching on exercise to music courses, fitness instructor courses. And then eventually ended up, I think my first FitPro gig, I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember they used to do the London events?
Yeah, London Link.
Oh, no, I think it was before that, because they did a Mind Body one.
Oh, so they did. So they did.
Yeah, so that was the first time I kind of went, because I was apolitical then, if that's the right word, because I went on behalf of the university, so I wasn't representing any
Yeah.
fitness organization. And that's, so I did that and then ended up, kind of doing more stuff with fitness professionals. And then got the phone call. I can't remember if it was a phone call. Yeah, it was a phone call from Jayne.
Oh, drum roll, please.
I know, it was from Jayne, and saying that they were bringing this new program into the UK called Body Balance, and would I like to be involved?
So can we just backtrack a little? Why did she ask you that? How had you become renowned for your yoga at this point? Because that, again, predates most people.
Yeah, no. So when I entered the fitness industry, I never really wanted to. I kind of, landed with a job with the OGB and had no intentions of presenting. And I remember one year we were getting ready for the Blackpool convention and a presenter pulled out. And Jan Fieldburn turned to me and went, "Nancy, you teach step, don't you?" And talk about how you end up presenting. I ended up covering a step class at a convention.
Brilliant.
I was like, talking about shitting in my pants, and I don't know, I was more scared of her or more scared of teaching the class.
Probably her, actually, as memory, unless my memory fails me.
So I did it, and then I kind of, did a good job, and then started presenting. And I knew back then that I needed to create a niche. And, at the time, I think I was probably the only Oriental Asian presenter.
Right. And did that have an impact on your choice of topic?
Yeah. So I thought,
wow.
What? Yeah, I did, because I thought, what's going to make me stand out? I kind of needed some sort of USP. And I thought, do you know what? My background's from the Far East. I've grown up with Tai Chi, and yoga. So I'm going to use that. And
origami would not have gone down well.
Oh, we could have tried it.
I've just given you a new idea there.
Imagine,
watch this space.
Bend over, forward bend, and so I started to do. It was more body conditioning stuff, but incorporating Tai Chi, martial arts, and yoga. And I guess I started sort of the whole mind-body fitness thing, which was very, very new back then.
Yeah, it was.
I did do a step tour with Randy Baptiste.
I remember.
It was two people on one step, and it was martial arts, and you had to learn to block and punch and kick around each other, which is
sweet.
So I kind of always did that, and because I did that, I think that was why I was invited to the FitPro London Mind Body Conference to do something to do with mind body. I can't remember what the presentation was. And then from that, I got the call about Body Balance.
Right.
So that's what happened, really.
And Body Balance was somewhat later on the scene, wasn't it?
Yes.
Body Pump came first. And I think, do correct me on this, I think it was something of an afterthought at that point.
Well,
wasn't it one of those that no one thought it would have that take off as it did?
Probably. I don't really know, because Pump had been around maybe a couple of years. So you had the original Body Pump team, and then Emma Barry came over and she did Body Combat and Body Balance back to back big camps.
Yeah, because we took Body Combat on tour with us. And we weren't Les Mills teachers when it first came out. I remember Rachel did that track too. It was Queen. We Will Rock You. Do you remember the combat track?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
I think it took another 20 years for it to go out of my head.
So I think then I think soon after that they brought on RPM and stuff like that. But I went along seriously because I was doing freestyle at the time. I had no idea about Les Mills. I had no idea about Body Pump. And when I got the phone call, I remember Jayne sent me a VHS tape of Body Balance 1. And I looked at it And I just went, oh, they're trying to do yoga to music. This is terrible.
Oh, that's ringing in my ears. I've heard that so many times. I think 15 times today, actually.
So, and I just thought I just left it. And then I didn't hear anything back. And then I think it was probably like 9 months to 12 months later when, they then decided to bring Emma over. And I got the call or email again. And this time I went to the office and, what's her name? Monica Linford was in the office with me.
Yeah. Who now works with me at Group X Training.
I know.
Isn't that? This is how small the world is.
And so we were sitting there, and I think it was with Brent, or Jayne, I can't remember. And they showed us, because they were looking at getting her involved as well. And we watched Body Balance 5, and I was still not impressed then. So I said I'd think about it. And then I thought, when I went away, I thought, you know what? I've got the opportunity of 3 days of training, and I love learning anyway, because, I just think that's growth. So I thought, what have I got to lose? I might as well go along to this so-called boot camp, go through the program, and then I can decide yes or no. And so that's what I did, really.
And you certainly decided yes.
Yeah, I think I bought in more to the vision of Jackie and Philip Mills, and it just
because they are incredible.
They're incredibly inspiring, and I think it's more them. And even today, I would say it's their vision that I kind of connect with, and the agents in each country are just the agents, and the agents will change. In this country, we've had 2. We have one agent, and now it's owned by Les Mills. But some other countries, they've gone through lots of agents, and to me, they're kind of the middle people. I kind of resonated with their vision, and that's why I decided to get involved, and that's why I stayed.
And what's frustrating for me, because obviously I never got involved with Les Mills, and people think of me as a Les Mills hater, which I'm not. Like you, I respect that business model and those people so much. But my ultimate frustration is, if you took Body Balance in the UK, none of the instructors think of Les and Jackie Mills, other than when it comes to them doing. To them, it is you.
Yeah, and it is,
and you were much loved. Everyone I speak loved you. And do you ever? Was there ever a time along that line that being the conduit for Les Mills, really, did that ever frustrate you? Because the job was yours, the good work was yours, the success of it actually was down to you.
I don't see it that way. I always firmly believe that things happen. Now, see, for me, what I totally, my respect for you is that I remember when we first met, is that you knew you were going to create something in the fitness industry, and you've, that's what you've done. And hugely successful with it. As with Rachel as well. Rachel Holmes. Whereas for me, I was at a very different mindset. When things kicked off, I was lecturing at university. And so it wasn't about creating anything in that sense.
Yeah.
Even though that I then did go on and create a pathway to yoga, but it was, I just would look at something when I'm even today, actually, if something's presented to me, I look at it and I see, is this in line with my values? And is this in line with my vision? And then if it is, then I do it. And I kind of, do I regret not having had anything more from it? I don't. I think
you got, I'm sure you've got an awful lot for it. It was just, I think, and it's still with the instructors, it frustrates me that they love Les Mills so much. But, and I find that at a point of teaching Les Mills for a certain amount of time, they become so much better than it. But it is still
I totally agree with you.
that rules it. And I see the desire to want to be great. But I think maybe not as one of the presenters of the programs, but as a teacher of the program, unfortunately, your greatness will always get camouflaged by Les Mills.
Yeah, and I think is really interesting is because obviously with the company there's shifts shifts happening with any kind of company, and it does frustrate me that they do, as you say, become that it becomes their life, and they have so much to offer. And I think for me, I've always had something else on the side, whether it was lecturing. So it was, and it's really interesting because I remember the early days, like with the Les Mills, every quarter there's the new release and there's an education that goes with it. And I remember years ago, the education was based on, who's that author? The book's called The Brand You.
It's not Jim Rohn, is it?
It's not Seth Godin. Anyway, someone like that. It was about you as the brand. And Les Mills was saying it's, you are bigger than the program that you teach. Right. And people, you are the brand and you are what you need to be and promote. But that just seems so lost behind everything. And
well, it is a little bit as now they are going online virtual.
Are you talking about the virtual classes or talking about the online training? The virtual classes.
No, sorry, the virtual classes. Does that not make the brand bigger?
Yeah. And it is, and I've been around, and the reason I'm still with them is because a lot of the business growth and everything else in personal development, I still get from it, but I apply it to my life. I don't just apply it to Les Mills, if you like. And I just see, and I kind of see, having been in like 20 years now. It's 20 years with Les Mills, right? This year, I know time flies, and I kind of just think, do you know what? I see things happening, and things always happen in cycles, isn't it? It's like the fitness industry; things happen.
Yeah, they do.
It's like clothes, fashion.
Yeah. I know, which I've kept so many.
I'm so glad that I've had no base in the UK. I moved around, so I've got rid of all my leg warmers and my thumb later. I know I have to go and buy them, but I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen in business, and I've seen what happens when the business grows, and then what happens to people along the way. And I just think I say it to the new guys that if I do have the pleasure of working with them, I say you've got to have something more. And
because you're making it sound, Ansi, like you've drifted. And I know whilst I had a vision, I don't think you've drifted. And I think if you, where we draw a parallel there, if I don't respect the people that I'm working with or get joy from working with them, I don't do it. No matter how much money is behind it or whatever, it has to bring me joy, and it has to make me go to bed at night feeling fuzzy warm rather than worried. And I think as business people, because actually that's what we are now.
That's what we are now, yeah.
That's actually a good principle.
I think, you see, the problem is with a lot of instructors and the fitness industry as a whole is that, people end up teaching group fitness anyway, rather than, personal training or anything else. But certainly with group fitness, you get a lot of people that work out in classes, love it so much, go off and train, whether it's ETM or whether it's Les Mills, and decide they want to do this as a living. And then they think, oh, I've quit the 9 to 5. So now I have a business, and they haven't. They're just bloody self-employed.
They haven't. And it's very hard because of the pre-programmed things to earn that living that we earned that actually pays you, not only pays you a mortgage, but puts the down payment on your home.
But they don't see it, and I find it so frustrating. And then you get to this point, that people are burnt out. They're constantly injured, and then there's the whole other side of body image and eating, disordered eating, and everything else that goes with it.
Oh, crikey,
and then and more so like now, being having been in the industry for so long, and there are instructors who've been around as long as we have and some longer, and your body's going through changes and they're still, do you know what I mean? They still don't get
We'll
it.
come on to this. We will come on. Let's fast forward now. So, what came next? Because there's a few, as a businesswoman, it's not just Les Mills that you do,
Yeah.
is it? You have that fantastic hierarchy of at least three things that
years
you
ago,
do.
when I first started with Les Mills, there wasn't yoga was less accessible back then, if you remember. And so, I decided that because the body balance instructors that they needed some yoga underpinning, and I created Pathway to Yoga. And I think that was the same time that you came up with your freestyle fitness yoga, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the year 2000.
Yeah, so it's grown about. I think I probably did that probably a year after or whatever from you, and then I kind of did that on the side because I was still lecturing full time when I did all this, and still doing some bits and pieces, in the freestyle world, not a lot, and then I just got so busy with Les Mills, but I kept the Pathway to Yoga going, and then that evolved into. I was approached by Spencer McGuinness and to take the training for the cruise ships. So we did Steiner cruise ships yoga training for quite a few years. And again, that was still on the side. I was still lecturing full time at the time, so this was all extra income really that got parked. And then when I left the uni, my business partner moved back to Portugal, and I got so busy because that was when Body Balance was really kicking off, and I was getting more involved in the company, and so I parked all that, only to be revived at one stage for David Lloyd's, etc. And so I kind of did that, but along the way, I always still had things going on. But more recently, I moved down to the Southwest in 2011. Moved down for a man, as you do.
As you do. Took me to Leicester, who knew?
So I moved down here, and then it was, okay, let's just start creating something. And so that was when I kind of dusted off my original stuff and, in the yoga world and recreated that. But it was more than that because it was me now as opposed to me 20 years ago. So it's grown. I've grown.
And is this my kind of yoga?
And so we do have teachers that wish to stay connected with us, throughout the UK. We have one in Cyprus, and we have one flying over for the next course from Finland, actually. And so, we're kind of doing that. We now have a yoga studio, a little bijou yoga studio, and it's rural, which is quite nice. So it's completely different to if you had a studio in the high street, because there's so many yoga studios now, and especially in Bristol, there's loads.
So there is. Bristol,
it's crazy. And so we're out in the villages, so it's really nice. It's I think we've created a really lovely space, and we're coming up to 5 years, I think, in October, and we're building a new studio. So we're moving into the new year.
Oh, fantastic!
So we're keeping it small, and intimate, which is really nice. So we're doing that, and then I also have a network marketing business on the side as well. So
this really interests me. Because, your head is well and truly in the lion's mouth, just setting up the yoga because of the competition, because of its history, because we are, funnily enough, no matter how old we are, it seems to me we'll always be the people who are treading on the toes of someone. I find that someone can qualify in a 300-hour course and turn to me and tell me that I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing. It's quite fascinating.
And I also find, that they go off and they do their 200 hours. They've gone away for a month, somewhere exotic usually, and they come back with their 200-hour, piece of paper, and then they're advertising retreats. And advertising these, which I'm going, really? I still feel I know nothing when it comes to yoga.
I know, but that's the beauty of yoga, isn't it, compared to fitness as well? But I mean, we've met some bitches in our time in fitness, but I can't honestly. Welcome to the world of yoga.
Yeah.
I have never known
It's
such
terrible.
vitriol.
It's really terrible. And I mean, hats off to you. I remember there was that one post, wasn't there? Was it earlier this year or last year? And, you kind of tagged me in on it. But I just think, I just try and remind myself, what would these people be like without yoga?
Yeah, I know. And what is yoga a
That
metaphor
is the
in your
thing. That
life?
is the thing. And I remember years ago, we had 1 week yoga school, summer school. And we had Jessica over because obviously I trained in this tradition, right?
Oh wow.
And, and someone asked back then, God, this starts in my 20s, and someone asked him and said, oh, yoga's getting so popular now, that, and I was like, can you imagine back then, 20 years ago, they were saying it's getting popular. And you're getting yoga classes, I'm being offered yoga classes in the local sports hall, like teaching on a badminton court, where it's noisy and dirty and all that kind of stuff. And so what are your thoughts on it? And he just sat there and he smiled and was silent for a bit. And he says, if it brings them to yoga, so what? And I just always remember him saying that. So it doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean?
That's so interesting, Nancy, because I went to see
Yeah.
Leslie Kaminoff, who's probably the best exponent of desiccature. I mean, he studied with him. And I was in a massive room in Cambridge, and someone he said, I'm sure you've all seen these weekend courses that you can do in the fitness industry now. And they all started jeering. I mean, jeering. And one woman said, yeah, you can even qualify online now. And he said, I just want to put it out there that these are the best things. They get people into yoga. The fitness people know what they're talking about. And I do my courses online because 30 years ago, when we made the 200-hour rule, there was no online. There was no World Wide Web. And of course, now we'll use it. And that's really beautiful that you've said that just desiccature.
Yeah.
Now I see why he was a disciple of this man.
So what if it kind of brings them in and they find, they get a little, a little smell or a little taste of what yoga can offer.
Yeah.
So what? And everyone, and the other thing that makes me think is that so my background's martial arts as well. And I remember, when you start at the white belt, you kind of want to get that black belt. And I remember I got my black belt when I was 15. And I remember thinking, shit, now it starts. Do you know what I mean? It's not like whilst you're looking towards it, it's like the goal. But actually, my learning actually started when I got my black belt. Prior to that, it was all your prep. And so to me, what does it matter how someone comes into teaching yoga?
I know, but it's taking you off the guru path,
What is
and
the
that's
guru path?
and
Word guru is to shine a light. So as long as I'm, shining a light for the people in my classes, that hey, do you know what? Here is a path ahead that can help you live more in tune with yourself and find some calm. Why wouldn't you?
But I mean, I completely agree with you. But I remember having a conversation with the Yoga Alliance, and they were awful to me. And I remember sitting listening, and it reminded me so much because she was like a rabbit in the headlights. We were coming. I've always offered just an entry into like a taste of yoga, as you say. The things that they criticize me for, I don't do. And as long as I know that I don't do them, I'm confident and happy. I never wanted to give people yoga in 2 days. I wanted them to get that smell, as you say, that taste. do the physical postures, and hopefully it's going to take you somewhere near where it's taken me and the people I look up to. But I felt bad for her because it reminded me of when Les Mills came into the fitness industry, and it put that fear, and I saw what I owned being chewed up and spat out by people who were going to do it bigger and better. And I felt sorry for her. I had empathy for her. But actually, they seem a little bit more sympathetic now. But
I don't,
as time rolls
and
on.
this is why, like, you know, my very, very first course that I did, I called it Pathway to Yoga, because that was what it was. And I mean, I got a message based on that, my Facebook post. This woman has messaged me, Deborah, she's now in the Middle East, and she says that was the catalyst for her, that now she owns a yoga retreat, you know, she's done the 500 hours, and it was a pathway for her. And I just, you see, you've gone down that route of, you know, getting your courses recognized and everything else. And people ask me this, and I'm like, I can't be bothered. I know what I'm teaching. I know what I'm teaching is authentic. You know, I'm not being a rebel. I just think a lot of this is a paperwork exercise that I actually kind of refuse to go by someone else's rules, I guess. You know, I know what I'm teaching. I'm honoring my teacher. I've been trained in the Desikachar tradition, and that is how I still teach. And do you know what? If you want to train with me, which is what yoga used to be, isn't it? You were kind of an apprentice. And that was
you
it.
find your mentor.
And when I started with my teacher for one-to-one lessons years ago, you know, she always said to me, she goes, you know, when a teacher takes on a student, that student is your student for life. They may go off, but your door should always be open to them. And so that for me is just stayed. And I just, you know, sometimes I do feel the pressure of, like, you know, getting my course, you know, credited or whatever. But I just,
But I'm the same. I mean, I truly believe in the endorsement process that I've gone into, having been an educator in fitness. And I feel the same. Should it be 200 hours? Should it be 500 hours? But I don't believe in it. I don't want to value my qualification by an hourly time. I want it to be valued on content and the instructors we turn out. And I think as long as we're true to our hearts, and as you say, this keyword authentic, then people can say what they want, although I'm still shocked that they do feel the need to. But, you know, I always find the people that criticise me the most are people who are teaching 2 classes in a leisure centre and struggling to fill them. And then again, I have to say, I feel sorry for you. But Nancy, they're actually irrelevant on our kind of supreme journey, which we should both feel very proud of and humbled by. But then again, the lion's mouth is, the teeth are even sharper when you start to mention multi-level marketing. Somewhere along the line, the average fitness instructor feels that they are perhaps somewhat bigger and better than a company that is global with a success rate of billions. But no, the humble fitness instructor knows so much
I'm too
more.
cool for network marketing attitude. I don't. But you see, this goes back to, like earlier on I said, is that a lot of people leave a job and become group fitness instructors because they're self-employed. They think they have a business. They haven't. They still have an employee mindset. Do you see what I mean?
Oh gosh, yeah. But the employer became social media. They would tag on to someone on social media, and it was often from those Paul Mort days of dissing it so much. And they just joined in. I've always said, I don't care what the main people say. It's those people that press like.
But I just, you know, because of that mindset that they haven't kind of shifted, and because they are, you know, they're not thinking about. I mean, I've said this before to some people. I think people are very selfish, you know, because it's just all about them and their image, isn't it? And this is what I'm creating. And so they're, yeah,
Yeah. Or sheepish, actually, because they don't actually think
they
it.
follow,
They're
yeah.
just following. I mean, I remember reading, we're going to go to the government to stop people selling Herbalife. Well, good luck with that, because the government have got it all on with Brexit.
I know.
and Herbalife is not actually
No, I
bad for
think
you. It
it's
might not be
this.
the
I
best
think
way, but
network marketing is a bad rap because it's for any kind of business and even the fitness industry, it is a very low startup cost. You know, like if I compare of how much investment I put
yeah,
in to set the studio up, you know, and what you've done to invest in your business, you know, there's huge amounts of money involved. But because there's
yeah,
hardly any skin in the game, people then just think, oh, I can do this. And rather than think, actually, this is a completely different industry and I need to develop the skills in order to be professional with this. You know, and the same with fitness
yeah.
instructors, you know, you've got you know, oh God, personal trainers that are somehow amazing nutritionists as well, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And that's a whole other thing that you know, gets my knickers in a twist.
Well, it's gone. If you look at some of the things, the way the past 3 years have gone, you know, everything that they were saying, they're not saying anymore because it's so quick, fast moving
Mm-hmm.
and non-evidence based that everyone's just kind of licking their wounds a little
Yeah.
bit from the mad things
Yeah.
that they were
Yeah.
advocating,
And,
to be
you know, I
honest.
just think it's just, yeah, people are just not being very professional. It is a profession, and you do need to learn the skills and be professional about it. And you know, why wouldn't you? To me, it just makes complete business sense because that's what we've done at the studio. Because it started obviously with me, and then now we have a team of teachers,
Yeah.
right? So as a business, as
Yeah.
business owners, we're leveraging our time and in order to leverage our income. You know, you know, we talk about Les Mills.
Yeah.
Les Mills is built on that. It's leveraging time, leveraging influence, leveraging
Absolutely.
in order to
Absolutely.
generate income. So it's just, you know, it's business. Leisure centers have huge amounts of staff. You know, they're leveraging their time. So, you know,
Yeah.
it's sound business model, and yet people don't, you know, are just too cool to entertain the idea.
But and it comes back to what you said earlier as well, that people trained to teach classes, they say they've got a business, but they're not business people because a business
Yeah.
person gets the secondary sale. You know, very recently I was just about to open a beauty room, which is a dream of mine. I got the room.
Oh.
The room's fallen through because the guys aren't going. But it will happen. I'm not, no, I don't, no sleep over it. You know, I wish them well in that room, but I was going to take on a multi-level contract with
Yeah.
the products because I just see the benefit of
Yeah.
it so
Otherwise,
much.
I don't know. You just kind of think, you know, and that is where you think about it. That's where Les Mills has actually done well as a business model, isn't it? Because it's driven. It's got an army of people out there who are doing their marketing for them for free.
Yeah, well, actually,
Mm.
that's a good point. And sorry, I
That's
drifted
right.
off there because I made it about me, as I tend to do. But what my point is there, you imagine, I mean, I sell more
Yeah.
ETM courses than I do anything. And largely it's because they want to either teach Zumba or Les Mills
Yeah.
or go into one of the franchises. Now, if the instructor was earning a profit from that pass on, wouldn't that be wonderful? Yet they can't seem, that my point before was they can't seem to get multi-level marketing off the floor because as business people, they don't know how to sell. They only know how to do what they do. And then they hide behind this thing of, well, I do it for love. I want to
No.
help people. Well,
And
then you're not a
yeah.
business person because no business really runs on helping and loving other than the
Yeah.
Samaritans,
Yeah.
which is a charitable
And I was
organisation.
on a course on a seminar yesterday, and he was saying you've got to be profitable before you can be charitable.
Yes, that's, oh, write
But
that down, Jayne. I can't remember when I came up with this saying, but
Do you know
it's
what I mean?
definitely
And
one
you've
of
got to do
mine
that.
now.
And I, and it really, people say, oh, they can't, you're saying that they can't sell. And people say that to me, that they can't sell. And yet, yeah. But yet, when
Authenticity
you look at their social
sells.
media, they're selling all the time. And as a
But then on top of that, they're moaning all the
yeah, they're
time.
doing that,
Or
but
they're
they're also,
dissing people all the
inviting
time.
people to the launches. They're inviting people to, or they're talking about this great movie that they've seen, or or pictures of their latest manicure, or unicorn hair, and thinking the hairdresser's amazing. Well, that's selling. That's marketing.
It is selling because people, you open your mouth in a fitness class and people go, look at this retreats that everyone's doing now. They're only happening
Yeah.
because people want to be with you and follow you and
But
emulate you in a way. I think if you do it with humility and honesty, you don't think of it as selling. You think of it as
and when
passing on
I
what we
entered the
adore.
network marketing industry years ago, it was very much, to be honest, hand on heart, I had this issue, or I can't sell either, right? And this was when I joined a network marketing business years ago when I was still lecturing at the university. I'm no longer with them. I'm with Arbon, and I'm with Arbon now, and
I
have been for the last 4 years,
remember.
and absolutely love the company. But I remember thinking, I can't sell. And then someone said to me, if you look at the origins of the word to sell, it really comes from the word to serve. And that is what I'm
Again.
about, And to me, I will say to people, I said, you know what? And I say to instructors, you find, okay, Les Mills is costing you too much money, then don't teach Les Mills. If you truly believe that fitness is an important part of people's lives and it can change their lives, then it doesn't matter whether you're teaching freestyle or if you're teaching Les Mills, as long as you're teaching, right? You just teach what you love.
Yeah.
It fulfills
And
you,
as long
and
as it fulfills
whatever
you.
you're teaching ties in with your own values, then go do it. Don't whinge on Facebook about whatever the cost or anything else. Yeah, then just unchoose it.
What you've
It's really
chosen
easy,
to do.
because then, to me, if your why isn't strong enough for why you do what you do, then stop doing it. But if I just think I put myself, I kind of need to get out of my own way, because if my wife, I really believe everyone deserves to be happy and healthy, then it doesn't matter which route they take, whether it comes to using the products, or whether it comes from earning some extra cash from, running a network marketing business, or whether it's from teaching yoga or teaching freestyle or teaching whatever. Just do it.
Just do it. And then, I completely, I'm so excited by our chat, but it is cracking on. And this really culminates in why I reached out to you. And see, on Facebook the other day, you wrote a comment about you, your weight, your age, the menopause, and it got 601 likes and 342 comments. And I mean, if you put something on about yoga or Arbonne, don't you just wish? Don't you just wish it got that traction? But actually, talk about you. You're 51, and I'm 53, and we are prime candidates for the menopause. I mean, I'm going through it with gusto, and I'm slightly appalled by its social media presence, as if it's the end of something for us, and it's an illness almost, and it's depriving us, because as hellish as it is when I'm lying in the shit cesspit of my own sweat, and my partner, or even worse, someone I've never met, says something, and I actually want to physically harm them, or I am euphoric and dancing about as if I'm 22 with no reason. It's mine. It's personal. I don't want, like you, I was struck by
Yeah.
the fact that you said, I don't want to take HRT
Yeah.
because it's part of another journey. And it's as amazing as it is shit. But the weight thing, you know, I've put weight on. I'm not particularly dissimilar to how I was a while ago. But regardless of
No.
whether you put weight on or not, it ain't pretty. I lift my t-shirt up. It's like a burst pillow under there.
Yeah.
I don't want to see it. I used to want to rub it in people's faces. Oh, you're nice. Oh, come and have a look at this, or get a taste for this. I don't actually want to do that anymore. And I find
I
that a bit destructive. And I remember
you
being
always so
envious of your
petite
body.
though. I know we are.
But we're girls, aren't we?
Mm.
That's why we're envious. You know, you've got lovely long limbs and you're always in proportion. And yeah, but now I'd much rather not be envious of your body, but respectful of what you've done in your
I don't know if it's a
career.
growing up thing or whatever, but you know, it's that post really caught me by surprise, and in terms of the engagement and the response, and it made me think of several things really. You know, one is that the response from some instructors, you know, I'm fighting this. I'm not going to give in to it. That I can still, I'm just as fit as those half my age, you know. So it's this not need, that it's something that you shouldn't succumb to, and that you have to prove your youth. And I think this is mainly from the people in the fitness industry. But I just think, do you know what? Going back a couple of 100 years, we'd probably be dead soon. You know, whereas now we're looking forward to the next, you know, the
Yeah.
second, you know, dead, third, yeah. Well,
Or
depends how
third, I
long you want
believe it to be, isn't it?
But you know, we are living older. But we are
Hey,
living
I'm here
older.
for the
But you
long
know, what's
haul.
important to me is the quality of life as I get older. You know, so I just find that are these women fighting against menopause because ultimately we've got less days left than we have lived, haven't we?
It could be, yeah, it could be that
Yeah,
you see death and
I think that,
people fear
and in the youngest,
mortality. I think people
yeah,
fear it a lot. And I look at my dad now. I mean, he's not gone through menopause, but he's in his 80s. And I remember when he realised that the end is coming. And he never said it, but his depression and his
it's
sadness was
same. My
overwhelming
dad is
for him
91
and everyone around.
this year, you know, and he's still great. You know,
Bodes
mentally he's
well.
absolutely fine, but his body is breaking down on him, and you know, and he drives my mum nuts. But you know, I'm sure you know that he is depressed. You
Yeah.
know, that's the
See, they're
thing.
coming to that part. We're just drying up a little bit,
Yeah,
or
but it's
the
just part
opposite,
of this
oozing a
phase
little
of
bit
being a woman,
more.
and I think we especially the fitness industry, we kind of beat ourselves up so much about it all. Um, you know, that we're kind of resisting it
Yeah.
rather than kind of aging gracefully or moving to the next stage of our life gracefully. You know, because you talk about aging.
Yeah.
Aging biologically starts in the mid-20s anyway. So since then, do you know what I mean? We've been aging ever since then. So why
Yes,
is it more of
quite.
an
Yeah.
issue now?
Yeah.
Mm.
I think it's now because the periods stop and, you know, the sweating and that kind of thing starts. And they are you kind of have the evidence of it. Whereas before it was, you were on that countdown. So like you say, you didn't see it. And also because you've got these evident factors, you have to acknowledge that that you have to wave goodbye to certain things that were important,
Yeah.
and like the way that you looked. And I'm not saying we can't be attractive. I
Mm.
mean, I feel actually more attractive as me now than I did for all those years when I
But
had
I think it's
0% body
almost like
fat
an
and abs.
initiation because we went through it when we started our periods.
Yes, and
So that was a
I'm
phase
always
then
drawn
that we
back
had
to
to
that
go
frustration
through,
and that
in
that
order to become a woman, you know. And now we're just moving into this, the sort of,
yeah.
like you say, the last third, stage of our life, and it's exciting. And
But don't you remember at that time as well? And this draws me back to the fitness industry. When you were a 16-year-old, 14-year-old, and you were going through it, you sought comfort from your peers who were also going
well,
through
see, I
the
grew up in
same thing.
Malaysia, and we just got on with it. We didn't really talk about that at all,
Yeah.
actually. No, we didn't.
Did you not talk about it with your friends? I suppose there is an amount of getting on with it. It's this idea that someone of our age that's entering menopause
No.
would want to go to someone age 30 to do a class. And I mean, I took time off recently. I fell off my horse and broke something, then I fell off and broke again. And I stopped doing CrossFit, and I did put weight on then. And I mourned it so much because I thought at this age I'll never go back. And then one day I got up and thought, why aren't you going back? You're no different. And for the past year I've been back to CrossFit and I feel amazing. And I don't sweat when I'm doing yoga. I don't sweat when I'm doing CrossFit. I don't sweat when I'm riding my horse. And when I sweat on the car going back, I don't care
No.
because these things balance me out. I don't go for the teacher telling me you're menopausal.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to
No,
sit
I
down
think,
now when
and I
you do
don't know whether
that.
it's social media that, I think society as a whole, see, I don't feel the need, because I'm an introvert, I don't really feel the need of talking about stuff. I'm okay with processing things and getting on with it. But I understand that
No,
for a lot of other people, they need to have that sort of, the conversations and the chats. And someone actually said that to me, that she says, I've got good, got a good crowd of girlfriends, and we talk about it, we laugh about it, and it's all cool, but I think a lot of people are so, what's the word? Cut off, you kind of get on with your own lives, and then all you've got is social media. And then you feel the pressure to come across a certain way on social media, that support isn't there anymore.
yeah. And there's a lot of yeah, and there's a lot attached. See, at this age, I think also you've got women whose children are leaving home, which is upsetting. There's the physical things that are going on. You've been in relationships with people for a very, very long time, and it's not probably as exciting as it was. And often
Oh,
people are in
people
relationships
stay
that
because
perhaps
it's
should have
comfortable.
ended, and they're
Mm.
yeah, and that's
No,
depressing. So I think it's not
no,
always just the menopause that makes them sad and in need of help. It's actually that their lifestyles need an
no.
overhaul and
And
they just
so a
haven't got
lot of
the
people,
energy or
it's this
can't see a
whole,
way
let's
out.
medicate it. And that's what we do with so much of our lives.
Yes.
Generally people go and see the doctor, I'm feeling a bit down,
Yeah.
and the doctor will automatically almost prescribe, an antidepressant, rather than deal with what's causing, the cause of the symptoms. That's with anything. I feel very strongly about cancer. I feel, and everything else, that we're just treating the symptoms and not treating the underlying cause. Because the other thing is, you've got to then
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
for a lot of women now, I've got no kids. So am I going to be, my reaction to this phase of my life, is it going to be different to someone who's had children? I don't know. Right. But also, you got to think,
Yeah.
if you've been on the pill as a teenager, you've already started to mess with your hormones. And then if you carry on taking the pill through whatever till you perhaps have children, then you go back on the pill. You've been messing with hormones for like half your life. Do you know what I mean? So now you're just going to go mess with your hormones some
Yeah.
more. So whilst people are saying things like HRT in itself, the risks of whatever,
Yeah.
cancer, whatever, is so low, it doesn't matter. What it's the same thing as, with going off tangent now, but with like organic food, and they're talking about spraying fertilizers and lots of other things on crops, that it's dangerous. The thing is, and then the companies say, well, no, we've tested the whatever they're spraying with, and that it's safe. But what they're not testing is the cumulative effect of lots of different fertilizers and the environment. So what we're not looking at is the cumulative effect of how we've messed with our hormones as women through our lives.
But we're not informed still. And also not confident to stand up and say, this is my choice, with the same as anything. It's the same. The women's right to choose really has always been an issue.
Great.
I mean, if you choose to take HRT,
like I always say to people, do you know what? If you want to have
and
that
if you
chocolate,
choose not
eat
to,
it. Don't
great.
feel guilty about it. Right? Feel good about it. But the same thing, if you choose to take HRT, the thing is, I just wonder whether people are choosing things like HRT without having done enough thought, because all they're worried about is their symptoms.
Yeah, because and also
Doctors
because
offer
this is
me,
what you
I'm
do,
having these
and this is
symptoms.
what the
This is
doctor
going to
offers
alleviate
me.
my symptoms. Why not look at food first? Why not look at your lifestyle first, rather than just so ready exercise, looking at,
Exercise.
reducing anti-inflammatory foods, that kind of thing. And why not look at that first, rather than so readily, with open hands, grasp it. I know it's shit. I know the symptoms are shit, right? But I also know that they're more shit when I am terrible with my diet. You know what I mean? Whereas I know when I'm actually really good with my diet, and the thing is, we associate food with pleasure, and so and the good things in life, and so we don't want to restrict it. But if you kind of look and this is one thing that yoga, I remember my yoga teacher taught me years ago, is that he said that Krishnamacharya used to say that through the practice of yoga, we develop foresight rather than live off hindsight. Right? So if you know that, that's going to make you feel worse, then why? Why are you, it's not
such
really,
a hard
when you
habit
kind
to
of, it's the
kick.
same thing. It's like business decisions, isn't it? It's not that, it is hard, but it's like choose your hard.
Yeah, and I think that comes back to what I was saying. When people feel that their lives are hard, and the key areas are not bringing them joy, then they do tend to self-abuse in a way by eating, actually, and being inactive, because they know they shouldn't. But then that's up to you and I, or people like us, to break. I'm not sure it's being done that well right now.
And if you look at the industry as a whole, it's a relatively young industry, isn't it? In the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, and that's what I still love about it, because anywhere around the corner, you or I could come up with a recipe. I'm not ruling it out either. For women to go happily and merrily through menopause.
But it's just,
look 16.
It's self-acceptance. And actually, interestingly enough, I was talking to a lady the other day, I can't even remember where, and she said that she was getting all these hot flashes and things like that. And someone said something to her, and she just went, you know what? What if I just accept it rather than fight it? And she says the minute she accepted it, her symptoms were so much better.
Yeah, that's so true. It is. And they're changeable anyway. One week you are, one week you're not.
I know.
But anyway, we have to draw to a close.
Thank you.
I have loved
we should do some more
today, and I hope this is part one. I think it's part one of a trilogy. I'm telling you that now. But before we go, Ansi, tell everyone where they can get in touch with you for all of the wonderful
key social
things
media,
that you do.
Facebook, Instagram. It's my name, Anne CEO. There's just one of me. And my website, anneceo.com. Thank you, Jayne.
There's definitely just one of you. Thank you so much. And
I know.
let's see. I hope everyone that's stayed with us for the hour, It's an hour, has enjoyed themselves. And if you haven't, well, you're not listening anyway because you'll have shut down, so bug
Bye.
off. Au revoir.